What's going on today, everybody? I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm kind of having a fantastic day. I'm having an okay day. We're gonna start working on this Audi. Not my favorite car to work on, but it's okay because we're gonna work on it. We gotta get some stuff done on it. So, motor's gotta come out. The bottom end is pretty much toast. You turn on, sounds like diesel. I was gonna try to show you, battery's completely dead, so we're gonna scrap that. It's bad, take my word for it. It's coming out no matter what. I've got a couple things taken off of it already, but we're gonna go ahead and start taking everything back off of it so we can pull this motor out and get it back out of the car. So stick around, we're gonna go through some things that you need to know when taking these engines out. So I've gone ahead and taken a couple things out of it, nothing too serious. I've gone ahead and started taking the front bumper assembly off. I need to take the tires off to get to the side, but I figured since it's low, I'll get everything on the top that I can get that I know I need to do before I jack it up and then get it up in the air so I can get underneath it. So gone ahead and I've removed the air intake, just gone with this clip, taking your MAF sensor off, remove that. It sat right here. He has got an aftermarket one, so that one's come off. The battery tray, I've already disconnected the wiring for the starter, and that's kind of where I'm at. He had a boost gauge, I undid the boost gauge. So just kind of tackling this side of the engine and then we'll move on our way over that side. Next I'm gonna go ahead, I might as well take this crossover bar off. It's in the way. I wanna start pulling some of these hoses, like hanging them up around here, so might as well get it out of the way right now and start working on pulling some more stuff out. So I'll take that off so we can flop some stuff up there. Now, if you're like me, and you took the battery out, and you need to get in your trunk for some reason, you can actually go behind the passenger seat, get in this little cubby right here, give this a pull, and that will open you up your trunk. Go ahead and put our cubby back. Put our seat back, put her down, and now we'll be able to get in our trunk. Now we've got our car up, we've got our wheels off, and I'm starting to drain the coolant. So I just put this coolant in not too long ago. We'll see how it comes out, and then we'll get the oil here in a second, tires off, and we're gonna start working underneath the car, I think, because we've got some stuff kind of done up top. I had to get the coolant draining so I can start taking coolant lines off. I've got our big charge pipe off, and then we're gonna start taking everything that we can apart. And the goal is to try to keep the spaghetti mess of hoses all together, whether it be on the car, or keep it on the body, or keep it with the engine when it comes out. I'm probably gonna try to keep it on the car. We'll see, I don't know, it'll change probably. I forgot how I did it last time, but we've got our fuel hoses off. If you got fuel, you're gonna have fuel coming out of them, so be careful on that. And then we're just kind of taking stuff off. Remember, on the Audi, every connection has to come off and get laid over to this side so that it will stay there. And yeah, maybe next, while I'm waiting for the coolant to drain, I'll take this front clip off and get that ready to go. Got most of the way off, I just got a couple bolts to take off now. Okay, front bumper. You gotta take all your top bolts off. Now there's two 10 millimeters that are stuck way back in there. Your intercooler sits right here, your little side intercooler. There's one on each side. Gotta take those two 10s off, and then there's a bolt right here that's a Torx, so you gotta take off so you can take this bit off. That's the same over here, two 10s, your bolt right here, and then there's also the clip for the sprayers. It's just got a little push clip, and then it pushes off and it'll come right out. front bumper off. Now, I don't think I have to. Yeah, I have to. I have to take those headlights off, so we'll take those off. Okay, we've got a little bit of work done. I got this front fascia kind of off, the radiator out, and the AC compressor is still on. I don't want to decompress the AC and have to be really bad for the environment anyways, but it is also going to take a whole lot to put it back in. So we'll just go ahead and I'll take the compressor off again and just let this hang out over to the side, and I can pull the engine out and leave it in, and it'll be perfect. So leave your AC off. You have to take your radiator and your AC out of this guy, and then take your AC off of your radiator and leave your AC hanging out. So we're gonna go ahead and start taking some more stuff off. Yeah, gonna have to take power steering and AC off. Okay, not gonna lie, I zoned out there for a minute and got kind of a lot done, and I didn't update you guys at all. So I'll show you kind of what I did. First thing obvious, AC compressor and condenser sitting over here to the side. Our power steering is off and hanging below, so I can kind of get it up and over this line. There's a really annoying bolt to get to on the side. Don't forget about that one or you'll pull it out. AC compressor's gone, the alternator's gone. We've got the belt off of it, the belt tensioner. If you need a little tensioner, use an old drill bit. This is an old junk drill bit. I wish I would have had a little bit bigger one so it'd hold it a little tighter, but 17 millimeter, pry it back and then put a drill bit in there. Done. We've got hoses out of the way, and then what we're left with is our motor mounts and then our rear drive line. We got to connect or disconnect that, and then our exhaust on the back, and I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's all I've got left. I'm sure there'll be something else, but for right now I've got our wire loom all sitting over on this side. This guy can come off and it actually goes with the engine. So yeah, we're pretty well ready to pull this thing. Some actually not great things happened. We were working on the turbo, pulling the turbo apart, and found out that there's a lot more damage in the turbo than we anticipated. And actually, when we were pulling it off, the shaft, the nut got stuck on the shaft. So we tried to make it work. It's not going to work. We're just going to bail it, get a new turbo, a new used turbo, and then rebuild that one. Hopefully have a little bit better luck. We'll see. We'll see what kind of condition it's in. Maybe it won't need rebuilt when it gets here. That would be ideal. But it is going to be a used one. It is a genuine Audi. I think it's a Borg Warner that they actually have. But it's actually genuine OEM turbo. So it's probably going to have a little shaft play. If it doesn't have as much as the last one, probably be fine. But with that, we've got some time now to waste. And I said I wasn't going to do the valve stem seals, but here we are. We got the parts here. I got the time now. It's not a rush to get it done, so might as well get some work done. Have this the best that it can be when we go ahead and do it. So without further ado, we're going to do some work on the heads for this car. The Audi 225B EA engine head valve job. Seal job. Sure, whatever. We're going to it. So we're getting to working on that. Now, as you can tell, I've got the majority of everything tore apart. And this is all the easy stuff to get in and out. Magnets and Torx, I think it's a T30 bit, will get you to this point. And after you get to this point, you need a special tool, a valve compressor. Sucks when you don't have one, but luckily I have one. I have a universal one that works pretty good, and it actually helps me with a lot. I've done like 4 or 5 engines with that, but not my favorite job to do because they're always a pain to get off, and if you don't spend the time to make it nice, you always scratch this surface. Scratching that surface means that these buckets don't sit right. So, for reference, your cams will sit on top of, in these journals right here, this part sets in this journal. Actually, technically it sits on this journal, but then this is your lobe. Your lobe pushes down on a bucket. Your bucket sits in here like this. So this is the wear part. Your bucket will actually push down on your valve, and your valve is on the other side. See if I can get you there? I don't know if you can see them or not, but there's all your valves. There's all your valves. So you've got plenty of valves. There's 5 of them. 3 intake, 2 exhaust per cylinder. So that's a lot. You can also, this is your exhaust manifold. That's off and sitting there. So you can actually see down inside and look to see if you've got any problems. You can see the one that's missing. I've got a hole right there, and I don't have a hole. That's because this one is actually taken out down to the valve stem guide. And it's got a little seal on it, and it's one of those things where it's a really cheap part to replace, but doing the job is where it's expensive. So all it is one little seal. One of these little guys goes right on that stem, and that's what causes it to not have any problems. So your oil will stay in the head, and this seal causes it not to go down into the exhaust or the intake system. Now your exhaust ones are blue, your intake ones are brown, and you can always tell them apart because this one has 12 in it, and this one has, I don't remember, 8. 8, that sounds about right. So, that's the gist of it. Here's a valve spring that's out. This bucket would sit on top of here, and then these are your retainer clips. So your retainer clips go in here, which are halves that hold the stem. Actually, let's build one complete out of the engine. Okay, so sorry, I'm trying not to make a huge mess and keep everything kind of organized the way that I have it. But here's your valve stem, and your valve stem actually has, so your valve stem has these little grooves on it. And those little grooves actually go into these little grooves on here. So there's little grooves on both of them. They connect together, and this will actually hold on to the stem. So there you can see the stem, and it has a half of the clip on it, and that clip sits in those grooves and holds everything together. So that's all that's really holding your valve stem in there, minus some spring pressure. So those are very important. So now we've got our valve with our spring sitting right there, and our clips actually go up, wrap around, get the other one up, wrap around, and that will hold on by your retainer clip. Now everything is held in there by those 2 little clips sitting right there. You can see them pop out. If you have one, it will fall through. If you have none, it will fall through. So you have to have those clips, and they have to be in the right spot and holding on. And now what goes on top of that is a shim. And this shim sets on top of there and actually compresses this spring inside your valve body. So this is where the bottom of your head is, and this is your oil gallery up here. And this is where your camshaft sits and hits this. So this camshaft your lobe will come around, slap on top of this, push it down, come up, push it down, and that's what gives you your stroke. So your intake and your exhaust strokes are based off of this. So now that you know a little bit of the basics, and it's kind of cool to see it outside of the head and actually be able to visualize it instead of having to try to think about it too much. You can actually see a piece and then imagine your actual chunk of the head is stuck down in there. So to be honest, if you're doing this job, you probably already know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you don't, there you go. There's a little bit of useful information. So with that, we've got to take all that apart just to get to one little seal, pull that seal off, easier said than done, put a new seal on, that's not too hard, and then put everything back together. So I'll show you how to do one and rinse and repeat for, what, 24 of them? Yeah, we got a lot to do. So if you can actually see down in there, one of them's got the spring in it and one of them doesn't. Now this one right there doesn't, and this one does. So this one we've got to pull that seal out of it. Now that seal is pretty well caked in there, and it's kind of problemsome to get out because you really don't want to scratch any of these surfaces. These surfaces hold really tight clearances to everything, so if you can help it, try not to scratch it. But we got to get that seal out of there. Now, there's plenty of different ways. Usually it resorts in needle nose pliers, pulling them off. And you're probably going to destroy them. So yeah, that being said, we're going to go ahead and pull that out. So there we go. That little thing is the cause of a lot of the problems. And you can tell that it's getting bad because if we put it on our old valve stem, it doesn't really flex. It stays one consistent. It doesn't want to like open and close like a new one would, and you can feel it going up and down the actual valve stem that it's got some loose spots. Now those loose spots are probably where we're losing a lot of our oil, so maybe it is a good thing that I did this. So your valve steel stem goes down in here, and actually we'll swipe. That's what keeps everything in here clean. And then this is your combustion chamber, or this would be your exhaust port. Actually, your exhaust port and then your intake port, not combustion chamber. Combustion chamber would be down here. But your exhaust port sits right here, and this sits right here. And when your valve opens and closes, that seal goes up and down to keep everything nice and oiled, as well as keep the oil in the engine and the exhaust in the other part of the engine. Keep the two systems separate. So there we go. Pulled that one out, and we'll go ahead and put our new ones in. So the biggest tip that someone gave me when I was trying to do this is find a socket, because you've got multiple sizes of sockets, and you've got your 12 points and your 6 points. You've got lots of ranges of things that you can actually get to fit actually around a new seal. So we will go ahead, and I've got a, conveniently enough, a 10 millimeter on an extension that's just hitting the metal part of this seal. So there's a rubber part as well as a metal part. The metal part keeps it on there. The rubber part makes it seal. So take the socket, put your stem or your seal in there, and then gently push it on. Put oil in it first, and then another trick is to get it around the actual valve bearing or race. I can't think of the word for it right now, but is to put a pick, put it on a pick, and then put that in the hole of where your valve is going, and then slide it down. Once you get it in there, push it off with your finger. Make sure that it's nice and tight, staying there. The oil will help keep it there. And then grab your new tool and set that finally in there. You don't have to push very hard. They set in there pretty relatively easy. So don't be jamming on it, because then you're going to make the seal not work. So if you think it's there, pull it out, take a flashlight, check, make sure. But 9 times out of 10, you probably got it. They're not too hard. So we're going to go ahead and put one in. I'd love to show you, but there's no room in there to really show you. So you're going to have to trust me. It was black before. Where's the old one? It was black before, and now it's going to be blue. Perfect. Now we'll get some engine assembly lube and put it on the valves to make sure that they stay nice and oiled while we are trying to put the engine back together. And it will also help with sticking the retaining clips back in the valve, the top of the valve, so it'll help stick inside of those grooves. So go ahead and put this in. Watch our seat and make sure that that seal isn't coming out. Helps to kind of rock it back and forth. There we go. Got it through. That assembly lube is also going to help keep it up. Now we'll go ahead and put our spring and retainer back in. Make sure that those are seated nice. And now we'll grab our clamp. And this is just a giant clamp that goes around the head. Pushes on one side of the valve. And pushes on this side with the retainer. There it goes, and it locks itself in. Go ahead and put our clips back in there. Make sure that they stay where they're supposed to stay. And this is where a magnetic screwdriver, or screwdriver that has a little bit of magnetism to it, comes in handy, because those are really tight spots. You can get them kind of close in. Make sure they don't flip upside down on you. A lot of times they don't like to cooperate with you. This is the biggest pain to do on this job. Just trying to get these back in there, minus getting the seals out. Then we can go ahead and pull this clamp off of it. That clamp will release pressure off of it, and then it will be completely sealed, done. The one thing we got to watch out for is we got to make sure that the valve is actually coming, or the retainer is coming up into the clips, and the clips are coned a little bit, or tapered a little bit, so it will make a nice cone around there and actually keep everything in. You'll know if you don't have one in there right because it won't seat right. So go ahead and take this off now. Done. Next. Well, now you see me do one, and you see me struggle through it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of them. Rinse and repeat, same thing. Every side, same thing, intake and exhaust, just a different seal. So remember, your exhausts are blue and your intakes are brown. If you don't know, if you forget, there's 2 different numbers on these ones. Now, a lot of times the part number will have an E or an I in it. E is your exhaust, I is your intake. Easiest way to remember it. So, without further ado, I'm going to go back and finish all these seals, and I can't do anything until the new gaskets come. I got a new gasket kit for this, so all I'm going to do is put the valve seals in it, put it all back together, clean it up a little bit, and get ready for new seals. I'm going to get out of here, finish this. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. I'm going to struggle my way through mine. So, take it easy, everyone. Peace. Catch you in the next video.